How to make a map with no starting MCVs. We will start with a multiplayer map, which you might want to make if, say, you were making a cooperative map. So it doesn't matter what the map itself looks like for the sake of this demonstration, but I'm actually going to delete the player locations and just arbitrarily place, 4 players, because most common kind of map is like a 4-player map. So this is the only method I'm aware of that effectively gets rid of the starter MCVs, but I've never seen it shown on YouTube. I originally saw it on a text file or something. So what you're going to be doing is creating a task force for each type of MCV. So you go to Edit, and you go all the way to Task Forces, and you're basically going to add 1, 2, 3 task forces. So I have 3 now that I clicked add 3 times, right? So I'm going to go to the first task force I made, and we're going to add the unit, which is the allied MCV, because these are going to be members of a team, and that team is going to be deleted. I'll explain more as we go along. So I'm just going to call this AMCV. So this is a team of allied MCV, or a task force of allied MCV. So now let's go to the second one I made it. We'll name this one SMCV for the Soviet. So we're going to go to unit type, and we're going to find the Soviet MCV, which I always forget where it is. There it is. Okay, and then we're going to go to the third one I added. We're just going to call this YMCV for the Yuri MCV, and I'm going to add the unit of PMCV, which I don't know why they named the Yuri MCV that, but that's what it's called. Whoops, I clicked Harrier by accident. PMCV right here. So now I should have 3 task forces, 1 for allied MCVs, 1 for Soviet MCVs, and 1 for Yuri MCVs, and it's just a unit of 1 blah blah blah. So that's the easiest part. Here's the second easiest part. We're going to create a script which is going to delete the team. We haven't made a team yet, but that's what we're going to do after we do this script. So we go to Scripts. We're going to add 1 script. I'm just going to call this script Vanish MCVs, and I'm going to add an action. So type of action, I scroll down to I think it says delete team or something like that. Delete team members. There we go. So I have 1 script type that I called Vanish MCVs that deletes all team members. Good. Here's the most tedious step. This is probably why nobody has bothered to make this video. You need to create a team for every individual MCV that you could have for every player that you're going to have on your map. So if you were making an 8-player map, Yuri's Revenge has 3 MCVs, Allied Soviet Yuri, you'd have to make 24 of these. So this is just a 4-player map, so we only need to make 12. And yes, I'm going to be recording the entire process of making all 12 just so I can convey to you how tedious this is. And I'm too lazy to edit. So we're going to go all the way to Teams. And this window pops up. And here's where naming conventions really matter. So I'm just going to create new, and I'm just going to click it 12 times. Just so I know I have enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Good. So I'm going to go to the top. So you'll notice that there are already some of these filled out in the script section. It already is selecting Vanish MCVs by default because it's the only script I've made. So if you have other scripts on your map, you'd have to manually scroll down to the script that vanishes your MCVs, which is the one that deletes team members that we just made before this step. Also, I automatically have this in the task force, but I'm going to have to change that for the Soviet or Yuri MCV sometimes. But really what you want to pay attention to is this house and the name. So I'm going to name this Player 1 Allied MCV. So that's just an acronym I'm using, right? It's already Player A, it's already vanishing MCVs in the script, and so everything here is good. So now let's go to the next one that I made. I'm going to call this one Player 1 Soviet MCV. So in the task force, I'm going to switch to the Soviet MCV task force. Makes sense, right? Simple so far. Go to the next one I made. I'm going to name this one Yuri MCV Player 1. And yeah, task force is the Yuri MCV. So there, I now have 3 for Player 1, right? So now we're going to go to Player 2 stuff. So I'll call this Player 2 Allied MCV. And in the house section, I'm going to change from Player A to Player B, because for some reason the house listings are in letters sometimes and numbers other times, but you know. So Player 4 would be Player D, Player 3 would be Player C, you understand. So again, this is already going to be running script vanish MCVs, and it's going to vanish the Allied MCV task force. So this is for Player B though. So I'm just going to copy that name acronym, go to the next one. We're going to do the same thing for Soviets, and again, house B, because we're doing Player 2's MCVs now, and the task force is the Soviet MCV. Cool. Moving on to Player 2's Yuri MCV. So I'm just going to make that A a Y. Again, this is just naming conventions to make it easy to look at for me personally. Make sure the house is Player B for Player 2 and the Yuri MCV in the task force. And we're half done. Now we're doing Player 3 Allied MCV. Make sure the house is C because it's Player 3. And everything is okay there. Let me just copy this. And now we're going to do Player 3 Soviet MCV if they have it. See, what this actually does, as far as I'm aware, is it assigns any units that exist to a certain team, or creates them if they don't already exist. Actually, I don't think it does that. But the point is that these teams members will be deleted if they exist. So you're effectively creating a team and then deleting it in the first frame of the game. This is Player C Soviet MCVs. See, I'm losing track. This is like requires intense concentration, because if you miss one thing, it's going to be a headache to go back and find out where you messed up. So now, I think, let me go back and just double check, because I wasn't paying. Okay, everything looks good there. So now Player 3's Yuri MCV is what we're doing now. Now, the thing that's interesting about doing this for a map is that if you are running short game and you destroy your MCV, it will end the game. So if you plan on making a short game map, which is again the most common way to play the game, right? You should assign at least the player at least one structure, and I might as well go over that too. So everything looks good here. So now we're just doing Player 4's MCVs now. Player 4 Ally MCV, that's just what I'm naming it. In the house, we're now on Player D for Player 4. Everything looks good there. Go down to the next one. Player 4's Soviet MCV. So Player 4 is Player D. And I gotta make the task force the Soviet MCV. And the last but not least, Player 4's Yuri MCV if they have it. Just change that to Y, make sure the house is D, and task force Yuri MCV. So I have just made 12 team types. That was the hardest part. And the next part is a little easier than that. We're going to go make a trigger that is going to tell the game to delete all that. So we go to Trigger Editor. Now again, if you're decent at making maps, you probably already have triggers here, so it'll look different, so you gotta remember new trigger. And because I know I want to make one for each player, I'm just going to make 4 triggers right away, right? So let's go to the top one, Now this trigger is going to be called Vanish Player 1 MCVs. I just feel like naming it that because it's easy. Now in the events, you're going to choose new event, creating a new event, and you're going to choose the event type of any event, which is basically what it says right there. And in the Actions tab, we're actually going to create not one action, but 2 more. So now we have 3 actions. Now the first action is we are going to create a team. Counterintuitive, right? You're creating a team, but in creating this team, it will be deleted immediately. So I'm creating the team Player 1 Allied MCV, right? So but in running the script associated with this, it will vanish the MCV. You understand? So for action 2, we do the same thing, but we're creating a team for the Player 1's Soviet MCV. And the final action in this trigger is, again, to create a team, but for Player 1's Yuri MCV if they have it. And so this trigger now has 1 event and 3 actions. So now we're going to do the same thing with these other triggers. So this other trigger that I made, let's call this Vanish Player 2 MCVs. Same as last time, single event, any event, which is makes it spring to action immediately. And we're going to create 1, 2, 3 actions. Make sure we're selecting action 0 as the first. I guess it doesn't really matter what the order is for these actions, honestly, but you know. And this type of action is going to be creating a team, even though we're actually deleting it. But you know what I'm saying. It's confusing. It's counterintuitive. Then we create another team for Player 2 Soviet, and we create another team for Player 2's Yuri. Where is it? See, there it is. Apologies if you're squinting your eyes to see the small text. I considered doing this entire video in a smaller resolution just so people could read properly, but I'm lazy. Player 3. Oh. Vanish. Player 3 MCVs. Is that the same naming convention I've been using? Yeah. So again, event, any event, which makes it happen right away. 1, 2, 3 actions. The first action to happen is just creating the team that is Player 3's Allied MCV. Then the second action is creating a team that is Player 3's Soviet MCV. And the final action is creating a team, which is actually destroying it. Taking Player 3's Yuri MCV and removing it from existence. And finally, the last trigger we need to make, which is vanishing Player 4's potential MCVs. And it's the same process. I don't even have to explain it anymore. I think you get the idea. Any event, 1, 2, 3 actions. The first action, I'll just do this to prove that the order doesn't matter. Kill the Yuri MCV. Oops, did I choose I forgot to choose the action. Oh, see, I almost made a mistake there. Create a team. Create a team. Don't forget to create a team to destroy this. Create team. Where's the create team? I'm blanking out because I'm too lazy. Destroy the Soviet MCV. And the final action is to create a team to destroy the Allied MCV of Player 4. So there we go. So I now have these 4 triggers that are creating these teams, which will destroy the thing that those teams represent. So as it is now, if I were to start the game, and if I had short game selected, it would just destroy every MCV, every player, and player defeated, you are victorious, or whatever. So we might as well just not let that happen. Let's just take random vehicle. How about an IFV? IFVs are cool. Where is the IFV? So basically you can stop watching the video now if all you wanted to know is what you needed to do to make the MCV disappear. I'm just showing you, like, you know, the application of this is you can make cool maps where you can control the starting units and the starting structures. Like, that's the whole point of this. Like, why would you make a map just to get rid of your MCV for no reason? So once you have these, you know, random IFVs that are by default civilian IFVs and all that, again, this is just a bonus. You know, you basically go to Edit, Trigger Editor, and you create a new trigger for every player. And you go to the trigger and you call this give player 1, and you give it the event, new event. You give it the event change house, or no, any event, so it happens right away. And the action is one action, which is change house. And you just change the house to player A, which is player 1. Makes sense, right? It's that easy. The new trigger. Give player 2. The event is immediate, so you choose any event. And the one action is change house. Change house, which is number 14. And you make sure that it's player B, which is player 2. And go to this new trigger here and call this give player 3. Again, it doesn't matter what you call these things. I just try to call things that name them in a way that makes sense. Any event, because you want it to happen right away. And the one action is to change the house. Change house is changing who has ownership of the thing. And this is player 3, so it's player C. And yeah, the last new trigger I made, give player 4. The event happens right away, so any event. And the one action I want to do is change the house to player D, which is player 4. There. So all I have to do now, if I want this to still work on a short game, is I will just set a building down too. So let's give every player a Soviet barracks and an IFV. Okay, doesn't matter, right? So I'm just placing these random civilian buildings down. Just giving them the barracks will just make it so that the game isn't over when their MCV disappears. That's basically what I'm doing. So I'm going to double click each barracks, and the attached tag that I will use is for player 1, give P1. So now that will be player 1's barracks right at the start of the game. This barracks here, the attached tag will be give player 2. These are listed in a weird way. Why are they like that? That's confusing me. Now I gotta make sure. Yeah, okay. Double click this barracks and give the attached tag give to player 3. And last but not least, give this to player 4. Oh god, where are you? There you are. And I'm going to just do the same thing I did, but now do it for the IFVs. Give player 1 that. Now what's cool about this is I'm sure there are other ways to assign units to players, but I just use like placing them on the map and just making it simple. Give that to player 2. Give this IFV to player 3. And give this IFV to player 4. Which is listed there for some reason. And voila. If I were to save this map and run it, you would have a map where everyone starts off with one IFV and a barracks. And you might see the MCV for 1 frame, but it would immediately disappear. So whether short game was on or not, that's how it would work. If you destroyed their barracks, it would kill them, but you'd also have to destroy their IFV and anything they made from the barracks if it was not a short game. So you understand, it's a good template with which to make co-op maps and maps that are more gimmicky and more about strategy, but are still multiplayer. So you're just getting rid of the player's MCV. And I guess that's all I wanted to explain. 20 minutes and 20 seconds, not bad, I guess. Considering like the last 5 minutes was just bonus. Thank you for watching.